I am love. And I'm speaking that not only for me, but also for you. So today I wore red, which is my favorite color and the symbol of love. When you're in speaking engagements or you're in ministerial school or Toastmasters, they tell you not to wear bold, vivid colors on stage. But I decided to break the rules. I'm known for bending the rules. I am love. I'm sure all of you know the name Helzberg, synonymous with Kansas City, because Helzberg is a Kansas City company, started in Kansas City by the Helzberg family. But what you may not know, and I'm wearing my I Am Loved button. How many of you have an I Am Loved button from Helzberg? Just walk into, if you don't have one, walk into any Helzberg store, there's one here on the plaza, and just pick one up. They give them to you. They want you to know that you are loved. Now, they put a D on the end, but I believe that since God is love, according to Scripture, and we are made in the image and likeness of God, we are not loved, we are love. Love in expression. I did a little research to find out just how Helzberg came up with this little button, I am loved. I am loved came from an engagement in 1967 when Bennett Helzberg proposed to his future wife, Shirley. He was so excited that Shirley said yes, that he was like, woohoo, I am loved. I am loved. Lyra and Robert just celebrated, what, 33 years? 33. 33 years. Stand up, Lyra and Robert. They wouldn't have stood up if it wasn't for love. They love each other. They make beautiful music together. Their lives are a symbol of music and love and harmony. They are loved. And there are those of you here today who know who you are. You know you are love. You are God in expression. God with skin on. God is love. You are love. Well, when Bennett Helzberg got the yes from Shirley, he decided to tell the world. So he came up with this little button. I was in the 10th grade when these buttons came out in Kansas City. And everybody I knew was running to Helzberg to pick up a button. They gave away 50,000 buttons that first year, and they were gone within days after they started. Do you know that it's now in 7 languages around the world? This little button has made such a difference. Such a difference that I got this idea this morning to start off talking about this. It wasn't what I was going to talk about, but because I wore a hoodie the other day, and I had gone into Helzberg to buy something. For Mother's Day, I've got this little Mother's Day heart with a child in it. And I picked up one of the buttons, as I always do. Probably have, how many do you have? I probably have a dozen around the house somewhere. I run across them every now and then in an old package of something, a box or a drawer. And someone at an airport, I had my hoodie on, said, "Oh, you are loved." Now, they weren't from Kansas City, so obviously they didn't shop at Helzberg because Helzberg's everywhere. And then I explained that this was a Helzberg slogan that started in the 60s, and they wanted one. And I said, well, there's a Helzberg in this town. It was in Georgia. I was there for my granddaughter's graduation from high school last week. And I couldn't believe the response and the smiles. Some people didn't say anything. They just saw the button and smiled. Everybody wants to be loved. And when you know that someone else is in love or loving, there's a couple, what do you always say? Oh. You see people get married, your heart just goes out to them. Someone's anniversary, everybody likes that feeling of being loved. As I said earlier, love is our sacred connection to everyone and everything. So let me start off with a little something humorous. It was meant for Steve, but Lyra didn't realize that she was going to be multitasking today. And thank you, Lyra, for volunteering to assist on the platform and doing such a great job in directing the choir. But this is not for you. A musical director was having, and because Steve isn't here, I want you to share this with him the next time you see him. He directs he's a musical director for Lee Summit North High School also. A musical director was having a lot of trouble with one drummer. He talked and talked and talked with him, but the drummer's performance just didn't improve. Finally, before the whole orchestra, he said, when a musician doesn't improve, They take away the instrument, give them 2 sticks, and make them a drummer. From the percussion session, someone whispered, and if he can't handle that, they take away one of his sticks and make him a conductor. And so last Sunday, I attended Unity in Conyers, Georgia. My twin granddaughters, one graduated this year, one will be graduating next year. We're graduating from South Gwinnett High School in Loganville, Georgia, and they are here for the summer along with their brother, 8 years old. They come to torture us every summer. And they've spent a lot of time here in this church, and they're downstairs in the Sunday school. The girls are helping with the Sunday school today. Otherwise, I would embarrass them by having them stand up. So they rushed to it when Christine offered them an opportunity to get out of the sanctuary. But last Sunday, when I attended Conyers, it was a very small congregation, but I felt the love when I walked in the door. The day before was a joy of my life to see one of my first grands graduating from high school. And now I capped it off by attending this wonderful, warm, and loving service at Unity Church and Spiritual Center in Rockdale in Conyers, Georgia. And so I want to share that love. I kept thinking, what am I going to talk about? And it kept coming back to me, the Beatles song. Every time I think of a word or a phrase or someone says anything, I break out in song. I love music. I miss singing in the choir. And so the first thing that came to mind is talk about love. Talk about love. And then I thought about the song, All You Need Is Love. Think about all the things we've read about in the newspapers, seen on the internet, all the things that are happening around the world. We still don't get it. We're still fighting, we're still angry, we're still choosing to look at differences instead of similarities in each other. You know, we're all basically the same. We all basically have the same needs, the same wants, the same desires. No matter what you look like, no matter where you come from, we all want the same things. And yet we often find ways to differentiate ourselves, to make ourselves better than someone else. That's because we don't get to know people at a deeper, more than surface level. I was confronted with an issue that reminded me of Marvin Gaye's song, What's Going On? And he said, war is not the answer, for only love can conquer hate. You know we've got to find a way to bring some loving here today. Now that song is old. I'm a Motown and a 60s music lover, so I might break out in song here in a few minutes, but I won't bore you with that. But when I thought about what I wanted to talk about, I thought about this deeper love. And what challenged me most, every time I thought about this deeper love, someone would bring something up in my face that would make me want to challenge them and get on my soapbox. And usually it had to do with an issue that many of us don't like to talk about. It's the elephant in the room that we hear about a lot these days. People with different sexual orientations. Look how quiet it got. Oh, shh, let's not talk about that. But I want to talk about it from a different perspective. In Matthew 7:3, Scripture says, why do you worry about the speck in someone else's eye, but ignore the log in your own? I got into a contest with a cousin about this very subject. And later on, I thought I should have kept my mouth shut. I should have left it alone. I should have just shut up. But she said to me, I can never go to a church where they marry people who are of different sexual preferences, same-sex marriages. And I cringed at that. And I thought about the principle in Unity that says we walk our talk. I could have sat there and said absolutely nothing. But I'm at Unity Temple on the Plaza, where diversity is praised and peace and harmony are the rewards. I'm at Unity Temple on the Plaza, where I performed Holy Union ceremonies right here in this sanctuary. I'm at Unity Temple on the Plaza, where I live by the credo that we are all God's children. We are all equal. I grew up in the 60s during the height of the civil rights movement. I participated in marches. I watched buildings being burned. I experienced segregation. at the deepest levels. I know what it's like to be treated differently. Who am I, of all people? Who am I to do the same thing to someone else? You know, there's a saying, stuck people stick people, and hurt people hurt people. Well, I don't want to be stuck, and I choose not to be hurt. How can I look at the speck in someone else's eye and ignore the log in my own? There are 5 unity principles. That is one of them. One is God is all, in everything and everywhere. There are no exceptions. The other is we are naturally good because God's divinity is in us. We are created in the image and likeness of God. And we create our experiences by what we choose to think, feel, and believe. Thinking, feeling, and believing are choices that we make. The next one is through affirmative prayer and meditation, we connect with God and bring out the good in our life. And finally, as I said earlier, we do and give our best by the truth we know. By living our truth, walking our talk, we make a difference. You've heard of the 10 Commandments. We don't talk about 10 Commandments a whole lot in here because we know that you've gone past that. You don't break any of those. So there's no need discussing that. You've graduated from the 10 Commandments. But the most important commandment is the one that Jesus gave us. He said that his commandment, the commandment he left with his disciples, the commandment that is still alive and well in our lives today, did not negate the 10 Commandments, did not negate the laws and the prophet, but they took care of, this commandment takes care of everything. If you live by this commandment, you can't steal, kill, hurt, or do anything wrong to anyone else because you will only love. Jesus said, I give you one commandment, that you love one another, that you love your neighbor as yourself. Well, those people live on that side of town, so maybe they're not my neighbor. I don't have to love them. That's not true. Jesus wasn't talking about area codes and zip codes and redlined areas of communities. Your neighbor is everyone. Dr. Martin Luther King said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. When we see our brothers and sisters persecuted, we all should feel some sort of responsibility to do something to make a difference, to speak up even when it's not popular. The Beatles sang it best when they said, all you need is love. And Steve Perry sent an email this week. We were talking about the music, and at the end of his email, it was so perfect. It says, if you judge people, you have no time to love them, by Mother Teresa. If you judge people, you have no time to love them. If God is love, and all who abide in God are love, all who abide in love are abide in God, then how can we explain some of the many things that we are taught? How do you explain that? I was taught to fear God. I was taught that God was this person with a long white beard, because that was a picture that was on the wall at the church, in the sanctuary, staring down at me. And if I looked cross-eyed, lightning was going to come and strike me dead. I was taught that God is a just and loving God, but there was a but. Don't cross him. And I was taught that it was a he, by the way. I was taught that there's a man upstairs. Now, I've been upstairs. Have you been upstairs? I haven't seen him. But I was taught that there is a man upstairs, and he's watching everything I do and say. I remember this nursery rhyme. It was a song when I was a kid. Watch your eyes, what they say. Watch your ears, what they hear. Watch your eyes, what they see. Watch your ears, what they hear. Watch your lips, what they say. Watch your hands, what they do. There's a Father up above, looking down with tender love. Watch your eyes, what they do. That was really confusing to me. Tender love. but ready to punish me at a moment's notice. There were so many contradictions. We're made in the image and likeness of God, but at the same time, we're a worm of the dust, born in sin and iniquity, and there's just no hope. I just couldn't get the dichotomy. I believe that we come to this human experience not only for ourselves, but for others. And I believe we should be ready to share that unconditional agape love with everyone we meet. No matter what they look like, no matter what they act like, no matter what lifestyle they choose. We are all in this together. In the afterword of our own Graham Porter's book, Daughter's Day, he writes from the heart of love. We all are subject to repeated storm clouds along the way. Yet how reassuring it is to know that if we keep looking heavenward with a positive outlook, such storms, in one sense or another, sooner or later will give way to heartwarming sunshine. What is Graham talking about? And this is 97-year-old Graham in the front row. Raise your hand, Graham. Wonderful writer. He writes about his daughters, and they are so blessed, and he's so blessed to have them. His book is in the bookstore, by the way, and this is not a paid announcement. I just love Graham, and I love his work, and he always says just exactly what I need. What Graham is talking about is love. Unconditional love. I'm sure his daughters did things that made him and their mother cringe at times, but they love them like we love our children and like we should love each other unconditionally. I want to close with a story that I read in the May Reader's Digest that fits this perfectly. You may have read this. On October 24, 2013, a senior center in Castro Valley, California, was forced to shut down due to health and safety violations. All of the staff walked out. Miguel Alvarez, a part-time janitor, and Maurice Rowland stayed behind, voluntarily. For 2 days, these two gentlemen bathed, dressed, and fed the 19 elderly residents that were left there without caregivers. Some were confined to beds, wheelchairs, and some suffered with dementia. Miguel and Maurice took turns taking short breaks and sleeping on rocking chairs in the TV room. Miguel made many calls to 911 asking for help. After about 40 hours, the emergency workers arrived and evacuated the residents into the local hospital or homes of their families. In response to his heroic actions, Miguel said, "I'd never want to see my parents or my grandparents go through anything like that. I tried to do my best." Now that is love. That is love at the highest level. It's not my responsibility, it's not my job, that's not my family. If I do this, I could be liable. It's letting go of all of that and just doing what you know the God in you directs you to do. We need more people in this world like Miguel and Maurice. Jesus said, "No greater love has a person than to lay down his life for a friend." And who are your friends? Some of them you haven't even met yet. Many you don't know are right here in this sanctuary. They may be your ticket to your next blessing. 1 Corinthians 13 tells us, faith, hope, and love abide, these three, but the greatest of these is love. There are ancient and modern day prophets from various walks of life who speak about this thing called love. And in Buddha's little instruction book by Jack Kornfield, he writes, Buddha says, love in the past is only a memory. Love in the future is a fantasy. Only here and now can we truly love. Singers and songwriters have written about it. Dionne Warwick said, what the world needs now is love, sweet love. It's the only thing that there's just too little of. People may not remember what you did or what you said, but they will never forget the love you made them feel. Maya Angelou said, people may never remember what you did or what you said, but they'll never forget the way you made them feel. And so with that thought in mind, I ask you, who do you love? Or as Tina Turner says, what's love got to do with it? How do you love? How deep is your love? Do you love everyone you meet? Do you send them blessings even when they do something that disappoints or upsets you? This week, look around you. People need your love. And all you need is love. If you keep that commandment, everything else in your life will take care of itself.